is giving me the centre line for when that line gets rubbed out.
Right.
Find it again. Because when you look at it like this, you go, where's the centre line?
Yes, of course.
Where is the centre line? And if a piece of wood grain is dead straight, you never ever find it. I should get some new glasses. Keep telling myself, go to the opticians. And then I get this, I've probably told you this before, I don't know whether to get varifocals or reading glasses.
Just get a few more pairs of those.
Of those?
Yeah.
They're all right if you want to see close. We're going to give the centre, there's a centre line, a centre gluing line up here. Because this has been made out of two halves. So this supports
that join.
the join.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do next, is stick that bit on there. You can see that piece, this piece of timber has got a rocker on it.
Right, yep.
So that's, curved like so. So when we clamp at each end,
the middle's pushed down.
the middle's pushed down.
Very good.
Right in the middle. There we go. Okay, that should. Again, I have to unclamp that after about an hour.
Okay.
A lot of these glues, this glue will set in, it says it grabs in half an hour. So you can, in theory, unclamp that in half an hour. I'd give it an hour at least.
Yeah.
Most things, like the kerfings, I'd give them overnight. Most things I give overnight.
Right.
But that's all that glue squeeze out along there I want to get at. So in an hour's time, again, that gets unclamped to get the squeeze out before it goes rock hard. With how to build a guitar all over it. So it's
How old is that
these,
template?
These are the instructions. I don't know. It gets rebuilt every decade or something, I should think.
Right.
No, but this must be 2 decades old, this one.
Wow.
It's so this tells me where to put the struts.
Oh, wow.
So I'll just do this marking out for you while you're here to show you. Prepared earlier
Nice.
are your struts.
Oh, wow.
So you can hear how high pitched that rattle noise is. They sort of, you select these pieces very carefully. I'll take the back struts out. That's number 3, and there's number 1. But you can see how here's the main X brace, and goes. These two marks tell me which way round to glue it up in a minute. I can either glue it like that, or if I made a mistake, I'd glue that up like that, and then we'd have a very funny X brace. So you have to mark it while you're building it, so you can make sure that when you get to glue it,
It's all right.
we're going that way round. So
we've got the line.
So that will tell us, all those little markers tell us where everything sits.
And is this your design?
No, this design is the X brace, which is a CF Martin. I'm not sure which number CF Martin invented that, but probably a century and a bit ago.
Wow.
I bet he came up with that about in the 1880s or something, did they? Or was it earlier than that? We'd have to look it up in a history book. But he decided an X brace was the best way of holding the stress of a bridge. But a bridge on an acoustic guitar is sat right there, isn't it, on the opposite side?
Oh,
so,
okay.
He figured out, the best way of holding that is to catch its ends, and that because the the bridge is being ripped
Yes.
off by 11 stone, which in pounds, I can't remember, is that 175 pounds or something?
So now there's stone to pounds to kilos.
Yes,
Right.
yes, and kilograms, I'm afraid I don't know, but
Okay.
it'll be on a string packet somewhere. But it's, in English terms, it's 11 stone, that's my weight,
Right.
I think, on a good day. So, so he figured, see, on the nylon guitar, prior to that, the pattern was a fan bracing pattern, which was more this sort of thing, and a series of little fan struts like this.
Right.
But much smaller, these fan struts were.
Yep.
And people made them with, more or less, maybe 7, maybe 5, and a flamenco only 3. And variations on that. And these were very small on a nylon guitar. They're really kind of so high and much narrower. But so the early steel string guitars probably were just what they call ladder braced, which is like that, and that, and the bridge is sitting somewhere here.
Right.
It's probably like this on a ladder braced acoustic guitar, and they kind of do quite a bit of bellying.
Yeah.
It makes a certain sort of raw sort of sound, which is a good sound. It's a different sound, but I think when Martin invented his X brace, I think the world took notice and went, sounds better. And I've always based it on something like that. Now, within that X brace, you can put it in a number of positions, and you can change the angle of that brace. That X brace could be that. I think Jean Larrivé's guitars at one stage, that brace came up here and stuck onto that cross brace.
Wow.
Which makes it incredibly strong in this area. And Martin, over the years, moved the X brace forwards, which they refer to as advanced, or back further. And that obviously the strongest place is where it's holding the ends of the bridge beautifully. Sure. And then as you advance the bracing, it's more what you'll find in a vintage Martin and what they reproduce. The brace gets very, very close to the soundboard edge, the sound hole edge. And you can see that on all the kind of reissue guitars that say this has got advanced bracing, but it makes it weaker here.
Right.
And it's more prone to bellying, which is why Martin then went back to here and said, we don't want them to belly.
Right.
So it's, you pay your money and take your choice kind of thing. So I've used this, and then within that, where are we going to go and what's that angle? Then you've got the choices of how thick am I making them, wide, how tall am I making them, and how much of it material am I removing from it, scalloping, which is referred to, which is basically taking great big scoops, weakening it more. And the more you weaken it, the more that soundboard is flexible.
Right.
And the more it's flexible, the more bass response you'll get out of it.
Okay.
More boomy the guitar will become. And conversely, if you're amplifying an acoustic guitar, you want to quieten it down, stop it vibrating so much, so you leave the braces really tall and strong, make it a lot stronger so you can plug in and play at higher volume thresholds without the thing feeding back. So a lot of the electroacoustic guitars are built much more heavily braced and built so they can handle that kind of volume levels.
Amazing.
So, but we're making something that's responsive. So I kind of go, I'm hitting this sort of happy medium, and that's down to the guitar builder themselves to go, that's where I like it.
Sure.
And then you hope that your customers like it. So this is how it's going to go together. And you can see on these braces, there are little bites taken out of them. And this is where this brace goes into. It's housed in like that, you see, and all these other little bites where other ones are going to go into.
Right.
So that sits there. And what basically that does is it stops that end of the brace becoming loose if the guitar is hit. So
Oh yeah, okay.
so I've seen so many guitars that get, someone's bashed the top.
Yeah.
Or if you're playing percussively.
Well, exactly.
and
It's part of that
everybody's
playing style now, isn't it?
They're the people that knock struts off. But if you house the end of it in there and in there, and the little end's in here and the little end in there, you give yourself a fighting chance that that's not going to pop off.
Right.
And
Very
again,
cool.
the way this is detailed can be any number of ways. I mean, there was a stage where Gibson went, these were butted up against each other, tall, face to face like that.
Right.
But I tend to sort of do this sort of dressing away and thing just because, this is the way I think it ought to be. So there are some more struts to go on here, some little patch struts to go across here and here and here.
Right.
Which I haven't made yet. And then there's this part here, which is the bridge plate, which will sit in here, which is opposite the bridge
Right.
on the inside, and that's where your ball ends.
Oh
sit.
wow.
If you
Okay.
had your ball ends sitting on there,
You just rip straight
you
through.
would just mash it up in no time.
yeah,
So
yeah.
most people have decided that a piece of maple is the best thing to use for that part, and it's tough and resists chewing up too much.
Nice.
So that's your basic pattern of the X-brace guitar. Whoops, that's the one there, and that one goes in there, and a couple of little other ones going across here, which we'll see another day. I haven't made those bits yet.
No worries. That's
then-
awesome.
And then these are the back struts,
Right.
which we've just got 4 transverse back struts, which we
Ladder
go-
style.
ladder style,
Yeah.
ladder bracing. So they'll go on the back in that order like that,
Amazing.
which is why they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 on them. And these have all got little numbers. This used to be A and B, but it's X. A and B, C, D and E, F and G. That's how I numbered them, so I just remember what they were. So that's... We'll come back another day and you can watch me glue
that
these
together.
on in the Go Bar press,
Okay. Cool.
which is a good thing to watch. Right, there's your neck.
Oh
So
wow.
you can see it's been glued up. You can see all the glue squeeze out.
Yep.
So we're going to unclamp it. So
That's awesome.
so it's marked up here with the on plan. So there's a centre line, and then this is the plan of the fingerboard. Here's 0. That's the 0 position. Then down here, this is where the 12th fret is, and the 14th fret, and then that's where your dovetail's going to be.
Oh wow. Okay. Cool.
Okay, and that's the template there, which shows that's the actual size of the fingerboard. You see, so
Right.
it's sitting on here, and this is the headstock shape, which will be sitting on there. But we need to make this obviously at an angle, so
Oh,
we've got to
yeah,
get
wow.
on the bandsaw and waz a few lines off. I'll go back downstairs again and just check there. Yeah, that's easy. Then we remove a bit more. Try a major seventh on there. You have slightly nearer sized guitar neck.
Wow. Unreal.
And if you look carefully at these, I don't know whether the camera pick these lines up.
Yep.
Even though it's made of 4 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, because these are all quarter sawn, nice and accurately, you should, in the good light, can you see these lines of this is the quarter sawn lines. They're all joining up, so you'll hardly notice all these little grain lines line up.
It looks like one bit of timber.
So it looked like one bit of timber.
Wow.
If you get a good enough piece of quarter sawn wood, they'll all line up. And everybody just assumes it's one piece. But you've got to have good wood. And that's, you see the grains running straight up the middle of there, which is good for it. Straight to the grain on your neck, if you've got a piece of wood and the grain's doing this sort of thing, your neck's going to do something similar to that in its life. So all the bits of wood, you make them as straight and true as possible. And because I've always enjoyed guitars, I've always kind of enjoyed looking at everyone's guitar.
Yeah, right.
And going, oh yeah, great, And then I've learnt a lot from everybody. And, I've learnt the history of American electric guitars from Dave Gregory. This is a what? Okay. So that's square at the moment. I will plane that off when it's dry and make it a nice shape.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then the back struts are obviously going to get let into it. So I've got to cut little grooves in it for 'em.
Okay.
So, but I'm not doing that today. That's got to dry before anything else happens. But anyway, it's got the excess glue off it. So.
Morning, Johnny.
Morning. Is there enough light on in
Yeah,
here?
it's great.
Yeah.
No worries at all.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
check this out. Wow.
This is the Go Bar press. Basically, these sticks are longer than the gap, so they create pressure on a strut while it's gluing. So it's a clamping system.
Right.
It's kind of old-fashioned caveman clamp. They must have discovered it in a cave, mustn't they, with too long a stick. So this has been gluing on overnight.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to undo these. And here we have a back with some oversized and rectangular struts, which I'm going to shape for you today.
Amazing.
So they have been sitting in a dish, and the profile of that clamp was an arch, so we should have an arch shape here. I don't know, can you see that?
Yeah, totally. That's
So
great.
that's how you create a curved back out of effectively a flat sheet of wood.
So is this curved?
That is curved as well.
I
That is
see. I see.
And
Wow.
there are various, I've made various versions of that over the years. There are for various shapes of guitar.
Oh yeah, right.
There are
Oh wow.
different curves. And, I've got dozens of these things lying around. Some I use more than others. But you just shape your shape and then make your strut to fit the shape.
Right.
And press it all together in one go, and you can create a slightly domed piece of timber out of a flat slice.
Right.
It's as easy as that. You know, the timber accommodates it. You'd have thought you couldn't do a piece of, you know, press a piece like that, but that's how you do it. So I'm going to work on that for you for a bit.
Okay.
But before that, because there's this sitting on the bench, here are your
Oh, wow.
sides.
Oh, my goodness.
Um,
Look at that.
So this is the primitive waist expander again. Bits of string
That's donuts.
and who needs a fancy mechanical device when a couple of bars and a piece of string do the job. So we undo that. So
Wow.
these have been gluing on. Let's take this off so I can get a bit more. Just the light is awful this morning. It's because it's bright on the other side. So what I want to do is just remove a little bit of material from these.
What's that for?
Well, just they're a bit bulky at the moment, aren't they?
Okay.
So they don't need to be as thick at the ends as they are in the middle. That's stresses on beams for you.
Right.
Which, so you want a brief lecture on stresses in beams? If you're building a bridge, where's a you're building a bridge. Where's a bridge? Right, if you're making a bridge across raging torrent of a river.
Yes.
Right. That beam doesn't need to be as deep at the ends as it does in the middle. To me, it makes perfect sense. But so you would actually shape you could remove material from the beam at that end and that end, and it would still be perfectly strong.
Oh, okay.
It's just simple engineering that I must have learnt, I don't know, at school.
Right.
And it makes perfect sense to me. If you're pushing weight on there, that it needs to be. I can see it, but there must be some mathematical explanation that all the engineers will get in touch with you and tell you the maths of it.
Right.
But if you look at a bridge construction, it's always like that.
Okay.
So that's why I'm doing this, and it looks prettier as well.
Sure.
And these side struts are here basically they're a safety measure for when you whack your guitar on the side. If they're not there, because as you can see the timber of this is so thin, it's very easy to split it. If I snap that in half, you can see how easy it is to snap. So when you whack the side of a guitar that's made of solid wood rather than a laminate, it'll split open all the way along remarkably easily.
Oh, wow. Yeah, right.
So these are there to stop that happening. So it just gives you a little bit more strength. And it could possibly aid the stiffness of the side as well.
Right.
Which might make the whole body just slightly stronger. So that's... People have done it. I mean, many instruments never used to have it on there. People used to put a bit of carpet tape, self-adhesive tape across it to kind of resist the cracking,
Okay.
splitting longitudinally. But it seems to be you know, I suppose maybe guitar makers saw so many repair work with, oh, my guitar's split open all the way round because I just bashed it on the end pin. And I think our natural tendency was to go, well, if I stuck a little tiny strut there, it would give us just a little bit more strength. So that, you know, it's a bit more durability. Is bar a bit sanding down. That is your sides assembly coming out of the mould.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
So I don't know how you want to.
That is amazing.
Whoops. So this little pad was there to stop the clamp pressing on it, and underneath there you can see that it's got little. That's the number of your guitar, 534, and 21 is the year. So it makes it look like I've made 21,534, but really I haven't. Just 534. So that's.
Oh, Johnny, that is so cool.
All manufacturers' serial numbers have things like that coded into them.
So we've got the thicker at the back.
Yeah, yes, you can see the taper,
yes.
From the taper we were talking about.
Mm.
So this is the front of the guitar.
Yep. And that's flat.
So
and the
that's
taper
flat.
Yep.
And then this is the back of the guitar.
Where the taper is.
Which you can see the taper on it.
Right.
So I don't know whether that's...
Yeah.
So there's a gentle curve going like that.
Yep. That is so cool.
Which I've done while you weren't here. So we sand that until it's lovely and smooth with another grade as well. So that's basically your set of sides.
Wow.
And I always think, that'd be nice to just have a set of that sitting around the house. You know, put it on a little stand, but they generally get turned into guitars. So that's not going to happen. So let's see if we can get that, pop that back in there. Keep it safe. Okay. So that is that. And the first thing I want to do depths on these. Give myself a little measurement. Right, back to regular glasses. Now, this is regular low-tack tape would do. This is how you make low-tack tape even low-tacker. Find some dusty clothes. I've got a special jacket behind you that's absolutely filthy. It's lovely and dusty.
So what's that for?
Well, I'm taping over here because I'm going to be shaping these struts, and this centre strip is nice and finished. You see?
Oh, I see.
So I don't want to upset that. So I'm putting a bit of masking tape.
Too sticky.
This is for protection, and too sticky tape will just rip the fibres off the surface of it.
Right.
So this is low-tack masking tape. I'm just making it even more low-tack because it's... You'll see in a minute what I'm doing and why I don't want to hurt it. I've just given those a little height marker to guide me as to what I'm doing.
Right.
So we're taking down Right, so now they're about the right height, approximately. Now we want to make them into a nice shape. So this is a piece of, what would you call that?
Not cardboard?
It's a piece of cardboard, but it's a protector, isn't it? A protecting caul, I suppose. C-A-U-L?
Okay.
Is that what you call it? So now you can see you've got something a little bit of a shape of a Gothic arch. Is that what we're looking? That's what I'm looking for. I'll just find a scrap of paper. So we started off with a strut that was rectangular in cross section,
Right.
with its grain standing up like that. If you notice, we'll see that more clearly in a minute. And so I want it to be more that shape. And different makers will go, oh no, it needs to be kind of that shape. Or another maker will go, oh no, it needs to be gently rounded off like that. And another maker might go, oh no, it's supposed to be that shape.
Right.
Personal choice.
Okay.
I like a Gothic arch myself.
Okay.
Must be my architectural upbringing. All my struts are sort of shaped gradually into that style of arch.
Right.
Tend to do this sort of thing next. This is the only bit you can sit down on the job. This is where you find out whether you're allergic to spruce dust. I might start sneezing in a minute. So you can see why those were sat there.
Yeah.
They keep it nice and protected. And then I have my little...
So these are why it takes so long to get your pick out when you drop it in the guitar, because they always get locked in these things.
Oh, so it gets hidden behind there, yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, and all you've got to do is keep shaking the guitar like this, and then it'll gradually bounce down the rungs, so to speak. So now it's about to start sneezing, I am. So we want about there, and there, and there, and there. This is painted red, so I can find it.
Right.
So basically, this is a little height gauge. So the ends of the struts, like the bridge, like the side struts, are getting scalloped away because they don't need to be deep at the ends. It's the way the shear stress works. I think it's something like that.
Right.
I can feel it. I didn't give you an engineering masterclass on it. And you can see the grain lines here are showing you how nicely quarter-sawn the struts are. So if the struts, if the grain lines are standing up nice and straight all the way through, you know you've got kind of maximum strength on that brace. Which if you're doing it by hand, of course, you can be very, very picky and choose all the best bits of wood.
Right.
And the bits that aren't, that are swirling like this or tipping over sideways, you don't buy them in the first place, or they just get binned. Or, it's when you're cutting the timber out, you're choosing pieces and cut it in a way that makes everything nice and precise, just the way you want it. Okay. So that's that. And then in order to make them smooth, one would take a piece of paper like this and on a shape. I wish Type Bond made them this shape nowadays. They've changed their shape. Smooth those all off. And then, very carefully, we can take these off, hopefully without peeling any bits. One back, as they say around here, a job's a good one.
That's beautiful.
So, and a ringy thing. Oh, we didn't ring the sides. You wanted to show you how ringy the sides were.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're resonating, really well. So,
fantastic.
So yeah, that'll end up sticking on there. That'll be the back of the guitar.
Oh wow.
Something like that. Okay. The back struts need to have little pockets cut in here. A little pocket like that.
In the kerfing?
In the kerfing to accommodate the end of that
I
strut.
see.
And then that makes it strong from impact. If we just stop the strut up next to the kerfing, which you will find on cheaper guitars that are just thrown together, you bang the back of the guitar and the strut will pop straight off.
Right.
So it's got to be in this little housing. So it's just like putting a beam into a wall.
Sure.
You dig a hole and put the beam in.
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
can stand on the beam. If the beam stopped at the wall, the whole thing would just collapse. So it's all basically very miniaturized version of old-fashioned building techniques.
Oh, that's
But
amazing.
that'll be. Some people stick the back on first and then the front on. I stick the front on first and then the back on.
Right.
It's personal choice. If you take Martin as the kind of the standard that we were always aiming for, their standard of construction has always been immaculate, really, inside. So, and then all the Taylors and the Collings and the Santa Cruzes, they've all, because they've all come from small makers, I think, they're all immaculately put together.
Right.
So that has to be good. Clean. So that is going to sit on there. Let's just see where that is. Does that need? That will do. And let's find
How much pressure do they create?
No idea. You want to put your
With my hand underneath
put your
it.
finger underneath and test it. It's I don't know. I bet it would hurt if you stuck your finger underneath.
Yeah, I bet.
But I've had people tell me how many poundage is needed to glue things together. I always clamp things up pretty tight. So that's looking okay. Those two. Yeah, right. Then we get. Those are going to go in their little hole, okay? Yep. If you came round here, you'd see that. If you came round this side, you'd see this little hole that I'm trying to get it in. You see that little. I'm trying to get that in that little gap there. You see, it's got in that little. You see that there? That's what I call a housing. Stick this one in. So again, he's got a little housing to go into as well. There we go. Okay, so let's get shot of that squeeze out. Do best chisels again. Looks neater. And you go, well, does it really need that extra weight of glue there?
Yeah.
You know, if you were trying to emulate older, you know, guitar making techniques, perhaps you'd go, oh, I'm going to leave all the glue squeezed out because they never bothered clearing it up. Right, you'll go in there, and you'll go in there. Right, you stay and put. It's like sliding sideways.
Right.
Because if these things create longitudinal shift, so it can do that. So these, again, all these struts are they're the right width, but they're taller and they're rectangular. They're all oversized, just like the back.
Right.
So
They'll be
shaved down like the back in a but I'll be using a chisel rather than the plane
Oh, right.
because you can't get the plane in.
Yes, of course.
You know, so it's a bit more of a fiddly job, but it's probably the most pleasurable job in the whole of the guitar making process.
Really?
It's carving the front struts. Yeah. Get the best done with the cricket commentary on. when England are on a winning streak. You know, when England are calmly whacking the ball to the boundary. It only happens once every 10 years, does it? And you know, you can just sort of sit calmly carving the struts until you go, that's where they should be.
Right.
Which is it's a very pleasant thing, but it's spend an afternoon doing. What is that C strut still where it should be? Yes, it is. In today is this bit. So
Look at that.
this is just a stick holding the waist apart
Right.
in case it decided it wanted to bend
Cave in a bit.
And that is all your little struts.
Oh man, that is beautiful. Look at that. Wow. So good.
And that's it in its mould there. And these little stopping blocks stop it pushing through when we
Put the back on.
put the back on in the clamping system. So it's a very rudimentary type of piece of kit. But so what we've got to do is sign it, write it. I don't know, I'll get the back up in a minute and we'll glue the back on.
Right.
So before I do that, the date is what, the 20th? Yeah, okay. So do you want to film me writing this?
Mm-hmm.
So we write down 20th October 2021, and this is guitar number 534, and then sign it. There we go. So if you ever take a Kinkade guitar apart and have a look down there, you'll find what day the back went on.
That is so cool.
So
I'll never be able to reach into this guitar again
well, you can stick your
like
hands
this.
up.
Yeah, when I'm pulling picks out, I'll certainly feel this, but this is absolutely amazing. Awesome.
So, whoops, nearly falling over. Many things to trip over here. So there's the back, and you can see, maybe if I would stick this in. Yeah. These struts here, the same height as that. So all these little struts
Oh,
fit in that
wow.
housing, you see. So they'll all line up like so and go in their little holes. These little lines here tell me where those struts are, so I've got a good idea as to how to line it up. And I've checked the fitting of this. It's all fitted very carefully. All these blocks are slightly angled. All the kerfings are slightly not square, because this, of course, is a dome shape. So
Right.
So it takes ages to fit the thing.
And you've already done all that hard
I've done all
work.
that yesterday. Otherwise, you'd be standing there for about 3 hours. Going, what is he doing? What is he doing?
Oh, wow.
So then we get the glue on. And then the spreading device. Highly sophisticated.
Do you need to let the air get to the glue before you stick it together?
No, no, no. I'm trying to do this before the glue goes off.
Right.
And depending on what the temperature and the humidity is, you've got a race on your hands.
Right, okay.
Right, it gives me a little while, this. But yeah, no, I just slop it on and stick it together, basically. But what you want to try to do is not put too much glue on. Otherwise it all squeezes out everywhere. Right, I think that'll do. Back. And is that located in their little holes? Yes. And I've got my little centre line nicks, which are all lined up. And then this little gadget puts pressure around the edge.
That's very clever.
Let's just check we've got it sort of in the right ballpark. The rest of them. The cylinder head on your Bonneville. If you ever did that as a child, no? Tightening up the cylinder head bolts on your Triumph Bonneville. Except I never had a Bonneville. Mine was an aerial Fieldmaster. But I used to do this every other day. Make a new gasket out of a cornflakes packet.
Yeah, right.
And the bolts, I think eventually I decided were stretching. They were knackered. So that's why it kept coming loose. But it was useful to know how to take it apart
Yes, of course.
at the side of the road. My old British motorbikes, you could do that. Further down. So this is done in a more random kind of way than your head bolts. So there was a definite pattern, I think. The Haynes manual told you to put them on, tighten them up at.
Right.
This is a bit more Heath Robbins. The stick that was just holding the waste apart.
Oh, you pull that out?
I can just pull that out. It's not not needed anymore. And I can just check with the aid of all the light bulbs, is everything. And what I'm doing here is I'm feeling with my fingernail. So it's useful to have a fingernail which is, you can just check that everything's fitted perfectly by see if you can stick your fingernail in. If there's any glue squeeze out, you can scrape it off with the fingernail. While it's sort of slightly, while it's going off. I don't know whether your camera can see inside the hole. Can it go in the hole?
Yeah. Let's have a go.
Oh, wow. So you see the little noggins, or
Little struts or braces, whatever you like to call them, are in their little housings.
very cool.
Everything's fitted nicely.
Wow.